Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to what has become part 2 of the C5 Fender fix. And the reason that I decided to go with a part 2 is because part 1 was getting a little bit lengthy. As you probably saw, this is who knows how many minutes that one is at this point. But I want to start with, I did a test fit of the Fender over the top, and I could actually see a little bit of the resin stuff showing through on the inside of it. And so what I want to do first, before we get into putting the fender back on, is to actually sand a little bit here, mask it off, and then do a little bit of a flat black or matte black spray paint, just so that it blends a little bit better and you don't see this in there. Is it necessary? Probably not, but let's make it look as good as we can, and so we'll try to cover it up and smooth that off. So let's dive into part 2. Okay, got a piece of 220 wet and dry. I'm just going to take a little bit of it off, and I really don't need to do a whole lot other than just kind of clean this up a little bit so that when I spray it, it looks a little bit more presentable. And I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm looking for a decent coverage. All right, do a little bit more cleanup of it, hit it with a little bit of wax and grease remover, and then just do a quick mask and spray it off, and we'll be ready to start putting the fender back on here in a few minutes. And so I'm not going to bore you with those little details. Pretty simple. Just sanded it down a little bit till it's nice and smooth. Clean it up, get the oils from my hands and anything else off of it so that the paint will adhere to it, and then we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned it up, wiped it down, sprayed it, and then what I'm going to do next is probably go ahead and, well, we let the paint dry. I'm going to put the car up on the quick jack so that we can get the wheel off of it, and then when we get back to it, or when we get back to video, we'll be ready to start putting the fender back on, hopefully. So far, I'm happy with the results of getting the holes plugged and making it an opportunity for at least the fender to go on and be solid and stable when it's on the car. So, which is really the ultimate goal here. When we took the fender off, we didn't know what we were going to find underneath. So, okay, so as promised, we have it up in the air. The paint is still just a little bit tacky. I don't know that I probably shook the can up enough when I was spraying it, but it will dry and it'll be okay. But now what we want to do is go ahead and get the fender kind of test fit again, kind of test fit, kind of final fit. So we'll see how it goes. I still have to pull that taillight back out so that we can get to that, but let's get going on this bad boy. All right, let's go ahead and get these out of here. They take a Torx 15. And it's really pretty simple. There we go. And I'm just going to leave it hanging down here. I think it'll be just fine. There's not a whole lot of weight to it. This is the part that when we pulled it apart, there were no screws or fasteners holding that together, so we will have to find a spot for those. We'll have to find some fasteners that'll fit those. I don't want to tighten these up yet. I just want to get them kind of more just to hold the fender in place. All right, so we're at a point where we're actually putting in fasteners. I'm going to reuse some of the old ones, or some of the old locations, to get these fasteners in, only because we're kind of forced into using what they used when they rebuilt the car as far as fastener positions, because they didn't use original spots because the original spots, the factory locations, were kind of destroyed. So we are using what we have to use. I'm not going to go down too tight on that. I want to actually check that fit a little bit. And I think that should be, yeah, that's probably about what we get for that. Could be better, but this whole side over here is cracked and broken, so there's, you know, not a whole lot of opportunity to really use good fasteners. But I think as far as that goes, we are where we are. The important thing that I wanted to do now is, now that the fender is kind of in place a little bit better, I grabbed some extra fasteners that I had, and so kind of tightening things up a little bit and getting it to line up kind of where it should as best we can. Got one more spot right in here to get to, and if we can, anyway. How about that? Okay, let it sit. Gotta get both hands in there. Now, there's really not a whole lot of room for me to do what I'm doing and actually be able to show on camera. So what I'm going to do is just try to tighten these down a little bit by hand. And what it is, there's a where the fender and the bumper cover meet, there's pieces of metal that have the holes drilled in them for the fenders where the mounting points meet together. And so what you're doing is trying to meet those up, and you can see me moving the fender a little bit, and they'll meet up, and that's kind of where everything goes together. But you don't want to get it all tightened down until you know for sure that that's where it needs to be. Check the gaps, see how well the fender gaps are going to be. That's going to contact right there, so that needs to come out just a smidge. That's going to have to be right there. And so that's where we're going to drill the holes. All right, we got the fenders lined up kind of where we want them, or pretty darn close. And so I'm going to drill a hole through what we did, the fiberglass. Right in the middle of it. That way our fasteners can go in there. And that should give us, you know, that one's going to be fun. We'll get them as close as we can. We're not perfect and not gonna be perfect. We already know that, so. I don't want to go too much on it, I just want to get it in there. And we may need a longer screw up here further in the front. Ha! I think that's going to turn out fantastic once it's all done. Wow, doesn't move around at all. All right, they're looking pretty good. That one's going to need a little bit. It's going to have to tighten down a little bit more, but that's okay. I think all in all, they're good. Let me check gaps again. Yep, that's going to give us probably as good of a gap as we can get. I want to check that too once we tighten it down and bring it in. Yep, I think those gaps are going to be really pretty good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these ones in here and get those gaps checked, and then we'll see how everything looks and lines up. And if it looks good, then we'll go ahead and put the inner fender in. So, see you in a minute. Okay, so fender is actually on and it's really secure. And I was going to go ahead and put the fender liner back in, but I forgot when I took it off there was this piece of plastic that was flapping because apparently when the accident happened, the tire and everything was probably pushed up and the body pushed down, and it wore a hole in the fender liner. And so what they did was the folks that did the repair just used this piece of hard plastic to just kind of cover the hole up. And I've got this one that still has a hole in it, so now I kind of have to do the same thing. I got to figure out something to use, and I guess I'm going to do the same thing too. I'm not going to worry about replacing the fender liner because it's really kind of pointless. So I am going to go ahead and, oops, find a piece of plastic. That's some fiberglass resin. I'm going to find a piece of plastic, put over the top of that, rivet it in place, and put this thing back together. Okay, so I didn't need a real big piece of plastic. So I got this piece that should fit just perfect, and I'll just kind of rivet it in place. There was a flat spot on the top piece of my garage trash can, and so I cut the flat piece out. So shh, don't tell my wife. But anyway, should work out well, I hope. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drill a hole in one spot, and hopefully we'll be able to get it to go from there, if we can get it all the way through. I'm hoping these rivets are long enough. I might have to drill a bigger hole. Yep, I have to drill a slightly larger hole. I was hoping to have a little bit of a snug fit, and it was a little bit more snug than I thought. There we go. So now, okay, that will fit. Now we want to come up from the bottom side, because when the rivet pops off, when it breaks off, it is going to leave the flat side down. And okay, that one doesn't look like it's going to work. Okay, so I was right. I had to dig a little bit to get the longer rivets, but I did have a package of longer rivets, and the shank on the rivet is just about probably 1/8 of an inch longer, and so it allowed it to go up through. And really all we're trying to do is create a splash shield, so anything going down the, when you're driving down the road or whatever, it's not just blowing water and stuff up in there, but at least it's going to kind of offer to shield the splash it away from it. So that's done, it's on there, and now we're going to put it back in. So stand by. Okay, I forgot to tighten down this clip that goes to here, and that one there is going to be tightened a little bit more too. So easy enough. I'll tighten those down before the fender. And that would be to put the marker light back in. I'm going to pop that back in, but now I need to find something to hold that in with, because it didn't have any fasteners behind it, and so the thing was loose. So I think what I'm probably going to do is just grab some, well, that one's broken off anyway. Probably grab some double-sided tape, stick it down in there, and then put it on with that, because it's not going to hold on there otherwise. So I'll probably just put it right in there. So, okay, I went ahead and fasten that on there. It's on there good and tight. It wasn't before, it was probably just rattling around. So anyway, now it is time to put this thing back in. Hopefully. Come on, get in there where you're supposed to go. Go. There we go. Come on, get in there. There we go. Oops. I'll grab that one in a minute. There we go. Yep. That one's tight. That one's tight. The only thing I don't like is this back here. Doesn't really have a place to land. We'll see if that'll work. If it'll work, then okay. If not, then okay. And just like that, part 2 of the C5 Fender fix is in the books. So anyway, I had a good time. It was a fun video to make. If you like the content that you just saw, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it, and it helps my channel grow, and so my channel needs help. Anyway, again, what we did, I'll go over real quick. We fixed the top part of the tub where the fender attaches to the car, and basically what we did is made sure that now the fender isn't flopping around, it's not moving around in the car, it is solid, it is the way it should be-ish. And then we fixed the hole that was in the inner fender liner and the side marker light, we got it back on there. The bonus is that it was a decent tutorial on how to remove a C5 fender. It's not as difficult as I was concerned that it might be, because there's not a whole lot of information out on the interwebs there to see what's what and how you do that. So anyway, again, thanks for watching Yellow Jacket Garage. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on down the road.